Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun and very deep cut episode for you guys this Friday because we're going to be talking about the Konami NWK-TR, more specifically my Thrill Drive board, which passes all of its hardware checks minus the final security check protection in plays. To say this board has been driving me insane would be an understatement. I've owned it for over 3 years. I continue to try to work on it, and every single time I just hit another roadblock and it drives me absolutely insane. So we're going to take one more try today before I put this back in the closet for a couple more years and try again. You'll see here this is a network board, not the one specific for Thrill Drive. We're just showing it to you. And on the top right hand corner there's a small EEPROM which is going to hold part of a security code. The second part of that code is going to be on a real-time clock chip underneath those network boards, which I'll show you in just a moment. There's 3 different games on NWK-TR. 2 of the 3 of them have that EEPROM, and only 1 of the 3 of them actually checks the full security. Racing Jam Chapter 2 ignores it completely, which is one of the strangest things Konami's ever done, but they did a ton of strange stuff. So if I try to boot my Thrill Drive board, you're going to see hardware error -11N, and I know that's on the network board based upon MAME documentations, so I know there's a problem in the security somewhere, and I absolutely know this is a Thrill Drive board. If you take a look at the code right here, 713 is Thrill Drive, so there's no doubt in my mind based upon the boot sequence and what the codes are on the chips, especially dumping them, that this is Thrill Drive. You'll see here there's 2 stickers marked 676, which is the original ROM code for Racing Jam. These things were released as upgrade boards to Thrill Drive, and I know it's a GM676EA, if I can believe the sticker. And this board is just absolutely haunted. You'll see here on some boots I get ER01. That is just a general fault. It is not trying to post, it's not trying to boot itself whatsoever. The CPU is not getting hot under my finger, it's basically just sitting there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just clean out the connector on the network board, hoping that that helps out, because this is an old board. It definitely needs a little bit of love. So as we snap that back on the top there, that's what my first thinking was, that maybe that general 01 error is just something about the fitment and seating of what's going on here. So I'll boot up again and you'll just basically see this in real time as to what I'm seeing. It thinks about booting, it wants to boot, it sometimes actually does boot, but more often than not it comes down to a general error of 01, and that is just failure to post, like if you turned on your PC and it did nothing. What I actually found was that there were some fitment issues all around the board. The first thing I did was break off all 3 of these plastic spacers because they were holding the network board up a little more. That still didn't prevent ER01 from going away completely, so I had to take a further look around the board. And what I found was the fitment on the CPU board, even though it was in there tight, seems to be very sensitive to exactly how it's positioned. If I disconnect the CPU board and reconnect it, I can get past ER01. So there's something about maybe the spacers here, one pin not making perfect contact, that keeps it from posting, but I figured that out again. So now I'm back to the hardware error -11N. So I need to 100% understand exactly what's happening here, and the best way to do that is to go into MAME and look through the boot sequence in and of itself when you know it is working correctly. This is what should happen. You should get the boot sequence. You're going to see initially it reads the Racing Jam code and then goes over to the Thrill Drive code because it is an upgrade board. And in slow here you'll see hardware check OK on GM676 version EAA. So I'll try GM676, I'll try GN676 EAA because that is what my board is demarked as, and I cannot get it to read whatsoever. So now it's time to take out the microscope and really start looking around the network board to see if there's any broken traces, anything that my bare eye cannot spot. And honestly, it's not for everyone, but having a microscope makes a huge difference. This is the EEPROM chip on the network board. I'm pointing it out right here with the cat pen tail, and it's one of those things, no matter what I do on these boards, they are needlessly complex and they absolutely drive me nuts. NWK-TR hardware is not for the faint of heart for collecting, so if you're thinking you want one of these games, be prepared to learn how to fix things. Get a microscope. You're going to need a metric crap ton of tools because that is right there the network board for Racing Jam Chapter 2. Over there is the network board for Racing Jam, and you're going to see that one doesn't even have a chip. Every single board on this system does something completely different, and it's so poorly documented. So I grabbed a pair of very fine needle nose pliers here, little tweezers, and went underneath every leg of the EEPROM, making sure nothing seemed loose, no solder joints had cracked. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a situation in which it wasn't trying to read this chip in the first place, and try as I might, I really didn't see anything that I didn't like the looks of here. The last leg had a little bit of a bump in the solder that I could kind of feel on the tweezers. Definitely use your hands and kind of feel where there might be an issue. Right around here felt odd, but I went ahead and just kind of scraped it a little bit, tried to massage it, see what was going on, and I brought my multimeter in and checked from the top of the leg to the solder pad, and I had continuity the entire time. I also had a corgi hair, I have a dog, and it just happens in this house everything has hair on it. I looked at every single pin on every single chip on the network board. I could not find a single cold solder joint. I couldn't find anything cracked, anything bridged. This board, at least mechanically, is perfectly fine. So when I go back in on GM676 version EAA with a year of 1997, I just do not get a boot whatsoever. It still errors out, and that drives me insane. So now it's time to go to the real-time clock chip, now that I know that the network board doesn't seem to have any hardware faults as far as the physical hardware is concerned, and try to figure out what to do from here. So I'll go ahead and read the chip that's currently in there, and we'll take a look and break down what these codes mean. GM676EAA, that is the cabinet variant as well as the region, the E standing for Europe. And you'll see here the initial year of release, 1997, is written out in these memory address spaces. It doesn't show up as anything in hex, but this is what the security is looking for, and if you believe this sticker on my board, this is what should be going into the board, because again, it has the sticker of GM676EA. There's another sticker that says 676, and you can faintly see an E. I cannot read anything beyond it. I've scanned it, I've photographed it, I've changed the contrast and everything. The text is just faded. So the next thing we're going to do is go through all of the different real-time clock chip dumps for these games via the MAME dumps. These are always a great resource when you're trying to restore something. We have the original Racing Jam real-time clock chips, and that is where I'm going to start, because this obviously would have started life as a Racing Jam. And you'll see here there's also a variant with a code of GQ676 that does not have the year of release in hexadecimal for some strange reason. If you see programming fail, that is just the calendar clock bits at the end. It always fails there. GQ676 with no year of release is also a hardware error, so I have not yet been able to find the match. And you'll see here again, it just doesn't want to boot. This is the final check before the game launches, and this drives me insane. We're getting to wanting to drink levels of complexity and confusion here, because it's not like this is a documented procedure. If you look up how to fix NWK-TR hardware, you're probably just going to find a post I put on the internet. And this is the full boot sequence on the GM676 or real-time clock variant, and you'll see here that the entire CPU board tests 100% perfectly fine. We are okay in green all the way across the board. When we go to the LAN board, all of the chips on there come out as okay as well, and all of the graphic boards from both the primary and secondary GPU are going to come out 100% okay as well. This hardware is 100% functional, except for the fact that when it actually tries to check the security, it fails at the last possible second, and that's what annoys me more than anything. I know this hardware works, I just can't get it to boot. I tried 1997, I tried 1998, I tried every single variable as far as the year of release is concerned. I had to photograph everything because I was dealing with like 12 different files, and keeping those photographs helped me understand what I had already tested. I completely just filled my table with a bunch of hardware, my multimeter, different tools, power supplies, even Q-tips that I was using to space that top CPU board a little bit different on the standoffs, just to try to get this thing to be able to work. And again, no matter what I do, I'm negative 11N. So the question is this sticker even real? Because this is my actual Racing Jam board, 676GM EFE. So I do know this says EFE at least, but that doesn't seem to come up on any single MAME code, so the EFE is a bit confusing. This has a Dallas timekeeper chip, same basic function, just a different brand, and I know I'm not supposed to be taking these off with a screwdriver. I was just in a hurry. I've done it a bunch. Don't do what I do, which is always good advice because I definitely take some shortcuts because I've been doing this for a very long time. And you'll see here again with a real-time clock chip from Racing Jam put into a Thrill Drive board, it just keeps erroring out to -11N on the network board. It does not matter what file I throw at it. It doesn't matter what file I write. It doesn't matter if I add in years, trying 1997 or 1998. I went down the line with every single MAME dump possible and used my knowledge of Konami security that I've worked on in the past, and still I can't get this thing to do anything other than go to hardware error -11N. So I am still absolutely stumped. Maybe the EEPROM on the network board is garbage and it's dead. The problem is replacements are very easy to find, but they come with a stock password to write them, and it seems like because this hardware isn't made anymore, that password is lost to time. I've got a couple spares next to me. I'd love to write them, but without the password to write, they are inoperable and I cannot flash a new EEPROM. So as far as I'm concerned right now, I still have absolutely no idea. I've been bested and now it's time to take out the good stuff, the Jamaican 1996, have a drink, put it in the closet, maybe you'll see it again next year, but short of that, don't buy this hardware, it sucks. Bye bye.